Castle Scarwall, a relic of a time now lost. Truly a castle in and of itself. Now hounded by orcs who do not approach because of the festering of undead. Slowly falling into decay and rubble, but keeping its pristine status from the enchantments that the curse has brought upon it. Truly a magnificent thing that we now claim as our own after clearing up more and more of a mess. As it is, you can have several options to decide to want to go in, some of which I have no idea why you would do. There's an option to go by boat, if you're so inclined. The lake is an option to swim and go wherever. You can fly in, if you're so concerned. I mean, it's a valid option. It's the flight. Flight is a very much of a common option once you hit this point. As with most of our problems, we simply walk through the front doors. Catching our way in, as we head in, we actually run into the initial, small town gate guards, whatever you want to call them, of the barbarian, which is actually guarded by lots of orcs, watching over and hoping that the castle itself will actually finally just not be undead. Very, very logical. It is also a circumstance of like the world's worst spotting orcs. For these men literally had no perception skill built into them. So they were on guard, watching and waiting, with no actual ability to actually see things. As we approach, without them even hardly noticing we dispatch them fairly quickly, as well. They're actually pretty common orcs. A bit of a shocker to know that this late in the season, and we finally run into orcs, and like the most basic of basics. Otherwise, we head into Castle Scarwall, fairly easily walking in through the front door. Heading in, probably one of the most magnificent bridges in the area. We come later to find out that there's a very unique circumstance to go for. Because standing on the bridge is the skeleton champion himself, who we have no name of, for skeletons do not name themselves. Mounted atop his mighty, this is a bit more shocking to see, his mighty steed, an undead nightmare. Now honestly, I don't know why they keep putting outsiders in undead form. He does, however, have a group of guards with him. Several skeleton champions dressed in nice guard armor. And the oddest feature, for some reason, there are minotaur skeletons. Now, I'm not really sure where exactly they got so many to make this many problems around. Wandering in a nice heated fight of defeating this problem out, because, you know, the unexpectedness of dealing with skeleton champions, skeleton knights, skeleton minotaurs. As which we make a slight detour, as per we head in directly, and the barbarian gets himself a level of curiosity. After the defeating of the skeleton, the nightmare, and his compatriots, we have a slight deviation. Heading inside, most of the party heads straight into the main floor, exploring our new environment out of curiosity more than anything else. We take a slow bit of turn as we run into all kinds of interesting stuff. As the first thing that comes in is a large group of nothing. There's actually surprisingly nothing in here. This is the weirdest part of the whole thing. It's just empty floor, damaged debris, and several different leftover, not even leftover remains are here. So much of the room is so empty that you would be surprised, which at the same time you also remember most of them probably got back up and walked their way out. While we are admiring this nice, lovely, empty environment, the barbarian had gone up to the second half of the flooring, on his own, smashing skeletons over the head with very little to no challenge. Upon which he runs into an unusual skeleton. A skeleton wielding an axe, a flaming skull, the once remnants of the guards themselves. And, sadly, the skeleton did not even remotely stand a chance, even with his unique nature standing before him. Smashed and broken very easily by the barbarian, and to which his disappointment of finding no treasure really to speak of. His harsh disappointment led him to wandering back, and as the party wanders in forward. Dean and I continuing in deeper to see if we can find any actual, seeing as there was no other doors but forward. Entering a room, it begins to swirl, and a swirl of mist of darkness. And the unexpectedness makes us retreat. Actually makes us head forward. We don't think too much about it, because we're not exactly the brightest bunch when we need to. At this point, the war priest, Drow, has very easily been having fun punching things in disappointment. The enchantress has brought her lovely minions along to help assist with this problem. Those poor great maidens that have been dominated to no end. And a few around later arrives a massive wraith. An unexpected powerhouse to go for us. And a short period of combat goes in. And as the wraith is finally slain down, a few spells slinged here and there, we enter the room once more out of curiosity. Seeing as there's no actual treasure, just a corpse slumped against the wall, most likely where the wraith itself comes from, we head into the next room, and we notice large amounts of corpses. An unusual sight. So we head in, and the room itself shakes, rattles, as the corpses get up, and we find out not only, well, actually I forgot about that, but as the corpses shake, rattle, and begin to start clawing at us, filling the room with much more power than we thought would be possible. Turns out there's a corpse orgy built into this room. And this is probably the turning point of when the enchantress learns she's not invincible to any regards, as she begins to be struck down, very quickly retreating out of the room, bringing her minions along. She tries and finds out that her teleportation spells do not work, and that if she wants to flee, she must do it on foot. A slow situation comes about us, as the Vapors itself is actually the form and not the corpses that lay before us. Watching the new assault from the war priest, as she finds out she can punch the Vapors themselves, and begins to thoroughly thrash and break it. As a few rounds of durability come through, for this is probably one of the most durable things in the room, it finally comes down to going and dying. The loveliness of finding out that undead after undead come back to life on their own and become more and more devastating as the time continues forward. Overall, the start of our adventure, we already beaten one of the anchors in an unexpected move. Not till later do we find out that skeleton of the flaming skeleton was actually one of our problem childs that we have to go and defeat. For this, he's pretty pathetic in and of himself as a creature that put down. To such points, we didn't even realize that this was the problem we had to deal with. And we had to go over the books to figure out where all the pillars that we were taking out were supposed to be. Finding out this was one of them. The saddest excuse of a combat situation we've ever gone into. But overall, I will call it good for here. This castle is long, drawn out, and fits literally the whole book in itself. As we know, Scarwall is where the legendary sword we seek to help defeat the loveliness of the Kazavan dragon curse and hopefully free this kingdom itself. But for now, I will say bye bye!